Hello, good evening. Welcome to the discussion of Group 5 UCC 101 on critical thinking and the elements of critical thinking. Now, we just like to start out the discussion by giving a definition of what is critical thinking. And the Oxford Dictionary defines critical thinking as the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. Let me repeat that again. The objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. Now, this evening, we're going to kick off the discussion with the Beckfords. We have Natasha Beckford, Janelle Beckford, and Alicia Dixon online with us. And we will kick off or kickstart with Alicia Dixon listing for us the 8 elements of critical thinking.
Thank you, Mr. Ariot. The 8 elements of critical thinking are reflection, analysis, acquisition of the information, creativity, structuring your arguments, decision making, commitment, and of course, debate.
And for you, Alicia, which of the 8 elements would you say um, more so describes you or your approach when you're making decisions?
Well, I like to debate the facts and ensure that I look at the pros and the cons, weigh everything that
Hmm.
comes with the situation in order to make a correct, to me, well, my correct decision.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. Now, we have done a review of a case study, and we will have some examples being shared with us by the Beckfords, Natisha and Janelle. And we'll kickstart with Natisha sharing her example from the extract that we went through. What would be one of your examples from that reflection by the student, Natisha?
Okay, so thank you, Tevin.
You're
So
welcome.
the extracts written by the student were in regards to reflection. I think it would be I believe it would be where the student spoke directly to his or her mom and stepdad,
Mm-hmm.
you know, stating that he or she is stating that he or she is grateful to their mother for educating them and reflecting on their stepdad's past, the things that he went through
Mm-hmm.
just to be who he is now. You can see that he perseveres through
Mm-hmm.
hard work and everything to make himself better in life. So
Okay.
that would be where reflection comes in this case study.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. And I share the same view with you. Pretty interesting points raised there. So Janelle, Janelle, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
That's okay. All right, so Janelle, can you tell me from the case study, what would you say is an example or a good example of analysis at play by the
Uh,
student?
okay, so by the student now, the analysis would be where she shows the emotion, where she started analyzing about the peace and war,
Mm-hmm.
and she started showing emotions. So so that's where I would say she started analyzing about.
Okay. Would you say it's a perception or fact?
Based on my understanding, I would say it's a fact. So, cause I would say it's a fact based on my understanding.
Why? Explain for us. And the reason why I'm asking you to explain why you'd say it's a fact is well because well it sounds like well from my reading that she's talking from a from her own perspective, as no evidence were what was actually provided to show that that is actually a fact.
Oh, okay.
So why would you say it's a fact? Anyone would like to assist? Natisha, would you like to assist your fellow Beckford?
Um, no. Okay, I will assist. She's talking. What is she referring to again?
She's
The
referring to,
analysis.
she stated that the analysis started when the student referred to the state of mind that one is often in, whether it be at either peace or at war. She's stating that she believes that it's a fact. So, can you justify why it would be a fact, or you're saying that it's a perspective?
Okay, so I wouldn't I wouldn't directly say it is a fact.
Mm-hmm,
I believe she's writing based on her perspective.
mm-hmm,
It's perspective that in life you're either at peace or war.
mm-hmm,
Further down where she states about real enemies and real friends or
mm-hmm,
enemies, fake friends,
mm-hmm.
right? I believe she spoke based on her points of
Personal. Mm-hmm,
based on things that have happened to her. So
mm-hmm,
Right.
might be
Mm,
a fact on her end, but
mm-hmm.
it's based on her perspective.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So, sticking with you, Natisha, what would you say would be an example of the acquisition of information aspect?
The acquisition of information.
Yes.
All right. So we can see throughout the case study where she would refer to, okay, so one was where she referred to, um, hold on a minute, please. One where she referred to, I believe it was the guy who landed the, on Mexico beach shore.
Mm-hmm,
Yes, and she used that. Well, she used that information to better give you a view of what she is speaking about, and we can see where she would like. Sorry about that. She would like constantly state questions where she ask what is fear, and then she give you a definition of it, and we can see where she get different informations.
okay. All right. Thank you. So Janelle, tell me, what would you say is an example of the creativity aspect of her critical thinking process?
Okay, so the creativity that she showed in the case study was where she started asking rhetorical questions
Mm-hmm.
and end up answering them. So
Okay. All right. Totally
yes,
agree.
yes.
So Natisha, back to you. What would you say was an example of her giving a structuring argument?
I would say where she was talking about success,
Mm-hmm.
where she states why are most people unable to become successful entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
and say because they don't persevere.
Mm-hmm.
That would be her structuring arguments.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And Janelle, what would you say is the decision making point of view example?
Okay, so the decision making is where she like she made up her mind, like she decided that she was going to fail and
Mm-hmm.
drop out of college. So
Okay.
yeah, that's
All right.
where I would say that's her
Yeah.
decision making.
I get you. So Natisha, tell me, what would you say is her commitment in this case study?
She made the commitment that she will never get a degree. Yes.
Okay.
She said that if it's if it's up to the world that you need a degree to do this and that, that's not
Mhm.
you. She
Okay.
work to get a degree just to be an entrepreneur.
All right. And lastly, Janelle, you get the last word in the examples being shared. What would you say is an example of her, debating during the critical thinking process in the case study?
Okay, the part where she started talking about the Steve's job.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she was debating on how people would follow his advice and follow their hearts. Yes, that's where she started debating on.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Thank you. All right. So this was a pretty interesting case study. And I am intrigued to hear everyone's perspective on what transpired and your view. In no more than 30 seconds, can you state for me, Alicia, whether you agree or disagree with the student's decision?
I disagree because with critical thinking, commitment, you started something, so I think you should see it through
Mhm.
and then move forward.
Okay, all right, thank you. Janelle.
Instead of give. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yes, what is your stance on the whole thing?
Can I just add on to what Miss Dixon was saying?
Sure.
Okay, so I agree with what Miss Dixon say because instead of saying you want to give up on a particular thing, you take your time out to see its worth because the fact that she made up her mind, that she literally made up her mind that she was going to drop out of school and don't get any degree and so forth. That's where she was wrong because I think she wasn't confident in herself enough that maybe she's telling herself that she's going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So she started persuading herself in her own perspective in a way to not show that she's a failure.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yes, so I would say I agree.
All right. Well, this, therefore wraps it up. The conclusion of Group 5, UCC 101 is that the decision that was made was pretty poor and not really that of a critical thinker. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good night.
Bye. Thank you for having us.